Welcome back to Hayden's Conversations podcast, episode number 12. Jeez. Today, we're going to be covering a couple topics like I always cover. It kind of goes over. I have a little whiteboard that I keep on the side to make sure that I'm following down the path of what I am supposed to be covering, because I will fucking tangent and I will go way off, and you'll probably see me go off tangent and kind of be like, where was I at again? So, the topics that we're going to get into is getting into a good habit. That's a big one. Don't be afraid of change. Opportunities that come once in a lifetime, and will you miss it? What is holding you back, right? All right. So those are the topics that we'll get into here in a second. This is the conversations that I like. I always reiterate this for all the people that are continuously watching my podcast. Like, I really appreciate it. I appreciate the likes, the subscribes, the shares, the feedback. Hey, this is what you could have done better. This is how it could look better. This is how it could sound better. Hopefully the audio quality is fucking solid on this one. Same thing with the picture quality. We're changing angles. We're changing the camera settings to see what works best, and we'll see how this one looks after this podcast. I'm still fucking learning on what's like. There is no standard that I have right now other than trying to find the standard, right? However, going back into so those are my conversations, and then I was going to say that I am a tangenter, and I like to have really deep conversations. A lot of people think that I'm fucking annoying whenever I get into that part of a conversation. We're like, okay, dude, it's not that deep. However, to me, it is deep. If you're going to ask me a question that says, are you tough? I saw this video of, I think it was, I don't know his name. It was one of the, one famous actor, the guy that played Scarface. They ask him a question that's saying, are you tough? And he, sits there and takes a second, and he says, well, I don't know, what tough means. Tough is dependent, life is tough. So if you can handle life, then wouldn't you consider that yourself as tough? And honestly, that's the way that I think. I get asked a question, and I think so deeply about it. I can't answer these very simplistic questions in a simplistic way. And it's not to say that I'm this deep person, I'm so fucking deep, blah, blah, blah. I think about this. It's just I think my answer matters, and everything that I say and every answer that I give. There's no such thing as a yes or no answer, because there's so much more behind a question that somebody could ask that I might in my head come up to a conclusion to say yes, and they might be expecting me to say no, but because the way that my brain works and the way that I just thought 10 different reasons of in depth of why it's not a yes and it's a no, or why it is a yes instead of a no, that's the way that I am. So it's hard even whenever I don't really play video games too much, but when I find myself in conversations with my homies that play video games, it's hard to even sit there and play video games, because I feel that the conversation is so surface value. It's a surface level. And I like a lot more value to a conversation than surface level conversation. I want to actually learn who you are, who the person is that I'm talking to, or what they're going through in their life, or what their opinions are, because maybe I have a different opinion. But if they were to talk to me and say, hey, well, this is my opinion, and the reason why this is my opinion is because if you look at this and this and this is how it affects X, Y, and Z. And that's the way that I think about almost every question you could ask me. Now, you could be a smart ass and ask me smart ass questions and be you know what I mean? Everybody, or there's always that person that has it. There's this book that I read, and it was talking about there's always a person that will go against you. There's always a pessimist. There's always the happy person. In any situation in life, there's always a person that can find the negative out of it, that can find a positive out of it. There's always the person that's laughing and the person that's joking, and then there's always the serious person. And it just happens to be which person are you in which timing in this conversation or in this time in your life? There's always going to be this one person. There's always something negative you can say, but there's always something positive you could say. And I am the person that it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive or pessimist or whatever it is. I just take a step back and I'm like, okay, let me evaluate what this question is. And not a lot of people like to have that conversation. And that's my opinion that I see whenever I have these conversations. I like to have the in-depth conversation, and when I find myself in a conversation that's very surface level, I'm like, hey, I don't know, this brings no value to me. And I think that's something that I would like to bring to this channel, is bring value. And that's why I'm always covering these topics, like getting into a good habit. Don't be afraid of change, because I feel like that's so much deeper of a conversation than just being like, hey, what's up? What's up, bro? Like, oh, you want to play video games? All right, let's play video games. Okay, like, you know, there's a certain level that I'm very competitive. So, like, when I do play video games, I'm like, okay, like, I want to fucking win. So how are we going to win? We got to pay attention and call out guys and blah, blah, blah. What if I'm playing, like, Call of Duty or something like that? Or some type of shooter game, right? But there's also a time where it's like, hey, we could take a step back from just playing video games and have a in-depth conversation of like, hey, how was your day? Like, what changed this week from last week? What got you closer to your goals this week and last week? What are you doing differently that helped you this week? Or what was something that kind of like held you back this week? And this is a good one. This is a good topic that I'm going to talk about for the getting into a good habit, because I find myself really strict and really disciplined initially. Like, that's the easy time to change for me. Like, there's two people. I feel like there's the one person that the initial change and the initial discipline it takes to change is really easy. And then there's the other person that's like, the initial change is the hardest. And where I am the person that the initial change is really easy to me. I'm like, okay, hey, this is where I'm fucking up, so stop fucking up. And I can change that immediately. But it's like, over time, can I continuously change that? So once I start writing down what I'm doing, I can do that for like 2 or 3 weeks. And this is where I was at this week, where it was like, I'm not flying a lot for work. I'm not doing a lot of ground for work. And there's reasons why. It's not like just because I'm canceling it. It's because there's like maintenance issues that you don't want to fly a helicopter with certain maintenance issues. You know, depending on where your students are at in their training, maybe you don't need to do ground, because now you're just charging somebody more money that they don't need to spend. So you could find yourself where you're like, okay, I'm spending not as much time as I was in productive work at work. So now what can I do? Right. And then depending on where I'm filling that time, like, there's a portion of me that was filling my time with creating new TCOs, or training course outlines. But then there's also a huge portion of me that I caught myself doing this week, where I'm like sitting on Instagram, or I'm sitting on YouTube. And instead of being on YouTube or Instagram or even TikTok, whatever it is, that's finding valuable content to be like, okay, hey, like, I can implement this in my life. I can change this in my life. This is how it can help me in the future, like, whatever, right? I find myself doom scrolling. And once I get on the path of doom scrolling, it's like, okay, now I just spent an entire week of doom scrolling. Now what the fuck do I do? Because I just wasted a week. So do I get back on my path of discipline? Do I get back to my good habit? And that's my hard part. I feel like for most people, what it seems like, it's like trying to convince somebody to change. It's trying to convince them to take that first step. And I think that's like the building the good habit, build that immediate change. It's kind of crazy. Like, if you think about in 10 years, there's 2 routes you can go. You can either you can change and have a good habit now, and in 10 years, your good habits lead up to a good result, versus all these bad habits continuously. You have bad habits throughout the entire week, and then one day you had good habits, and then you have bad habits through the entire week, and then you have one day of good habits. It's like, over time, you're going to have way more of a majority of bad habits. And whatever those habits are, depending on where you're at in your life and what you're doing in your life and what you would consider a bad habit. And same thing with me. Like, what would I consider a bad habit, right? But the more bad habits that you have, the worse that your result's going to be, and the final outcome. And how do you get back? That's me. Like, how do I get back to the good habit, right? Because, again, like I was saying, it's easy for me to have the immediate discipline change. I think I was on a solid 3-week roll where every single day I was reading for at least 30 minutes a day. I just finished my 3rd book. I would say I've finished 3 complete books, but I've started 2 other books in that time as well. But this week I found myself, like, probably out of the 7 days, I only read maybe like 3 or 4 days. And maybe on those 3 or 4 days, I only read for maybe 10 minutes instead of 30 minutes, or I only read 10 pages instead of 30 pages, or whatever the day that I found myself having all these bad habits, like, it reduced the amount of good habits that I had. And I just, like, want to reflect on how bad of the bad habits that I had and what was the end result of that week. And that's the hard part, is assessing, was this week a productive week, or was this week a non-productive week? Now, well, you could also argue, like, just because it's not a productive week doesn't mean that you went backwards, right? Like, if you went backwards, that's bad. Like, going backwards would be like, okay, so say you're doing some type of financial goal, like you're on a financial discipline goal, and your goal is to not spend $100 every week, and every week you've been spending $80 or less, and so you're like, okay, hey, good, I'm doing really good all the way up to this point. And then this week I spend $115 or whatever the number is, right? And next week, am I going to continue that bad habit? Am I going to go from 115 to 120 to 120 to 150? And is it going to keep progressing? Or am I going to be able to stop right here and catch it and be like, okay, look, analyze the bad habits that came back this week and change it for this following week. And that's what I'm doing right now. It's really hard. That's my hard. That's my hard, is after, a certain amount of weeks of being super disciplined, is not going too undisciplined for that following week. So this week, that's what I'm going to be focusing on, is getting back to my good habit. What is your bad habit that you have that you continuously want to change? And is your change the immediate change that's hard, or is your change the change like that's like mine, where it's like easy for that initial change, or long-term it's that change, right? So I think, how do you have that good habit change, going back to the good habits? It's sitting here and having this conversation. That's kind of like why I brought this point up, is because when you're playing video games, or maybe it's not video games for you, but maybe it's some conversation that you're having with your friend that's like, is it surface level conversation that's not getting you to where you want to go, and you just find yourself in this position where you're constantly talking about stuff that's not important to you and that doesn't progress your life and that doesn't have any value to you? Or are you having a conversation that's very reflective with somebody else, that's reflecting on their aspect of their life, or reflecting somewhere on your life? And that's where I found myself again. That's another place that I found myself this week, where I found myself having a lot of conversations that almost didn't have much value. I had a lot of valuable conversations and a lot of opportunity that presented itself this week, and I feel like I took those opportunities and I'm acting on them. But at the same time, like, could I have had a better week? Right? Like, I think my week wasn't necessarily bad, but was it as good as it could have been? Was I as efficiently managing my time as I should have been? And going back to the depthness that I think, it's not like, okay, I am not broke. I only went to the gym 2 times this week. So, I went to the gym, like, asking yourself these questions. Or are you saying like, okay, like, yeah, like, I really don't care, whatever. Let's go talk about the distractions in life. Let's go talk about the video games. Let's go talk about the sports. Let's go talk about like politicians and distractions in life. And that's where I'm saying, let's take a step back from that. That's my conversations that I like to have, is not so much on the distraction and more so on the reflection and the depthness of, like, it's not just a simple answer of like, were you productive this week? Well, yeah, I was productive, but was I as efficient with my productivity as it could have been? Was I as productive as I've been the last couple weeks? And if I haven't been because I didn't meet X, Y, Z criteria, or in this moment I spent this much time on distractions that I could have spent on something else that would help progress my career, progress my life, or do something that would help me, right? And I think that you only get those out of the depthness. You only get those out of the questions that aren't so like, yeah, what's up, bro? How was your day? Like, oh, what did you do today that helped you, that got you closer to where you want to be at today? What is the good habit that is changing for the future that you're continuously doing? And what are these good habits that you're changing, and how are they affecting you? Because typically good habits are not as easy as a bad habit. A bad habit is something like, I could sit here and play video games for 8 hours a day every day. Even when I get off work, I could still play for 8 hours a day. But how is that going to affect my relationship? how is that going to affect my mental state? Because when I get asked a question at work that I could have studied, that I didn't study, and I could have answered it and I didn't, because I couldn't answer it because I didn't study what I needed to study, or whatever it is that could have helped me if I would have stuck to my good habits. But bad habits are super easy, right? If it was easy, everybody could do it. These habits, these good habits that you need to have to get to where you want to go, to have that end result that's a better result, it takes time to build it. And that's where I'm saying, like, let's go back to the point to where you don't have to go necessarily backwards to have a bad week. If you're just stagnant, though, that's also, are you defining that as bad? Or are you defining that as good? And for me, sometimes I can define that as bad, because then you could also look at, if you had a stagnant week, a stagnant week, a stagnant week, now you've had a stagnant month, and you just keep building that up, and now you have a stagnant year, right? And then you get to the point to where 10 years, you've just been stagnant the entire time. So it's not necessarily that you're going backwards, but are you moving forwards? And the only way you can do that is by asking yourself in-depth questions and not just answering it surface level, not like succumbing to the distractions in life. What is it that you need to do to change in your life that you need to continuously focus on? And when you find yourself not focusing on it, can you like release all that distraction and be like, fuck, I fucked up. I've been distracted this entire time. Today, I found myself on my, like, I went on a run because I was just like, fuck, dude. I'm sitting here, I'm doing a bunch of shit, and I haven't worked out. I need to go work out. In my workout, or like in my run, what I do typically in the beginning of my run is I'll take my, like in the beginning of my run, I'll listen to my music, but most of the time it's like motivational music or some type of, not motivational music, but it's like motivational podcasts and shit like that. Like, oh, do what you need to do when you know you don't need to, like, whatever the fuck, like that bullshit. The bullshit I'm telling you. That's a joke, right? But anyways, so after about a mile out of my, like the first half of my run, I'll take my headphones out and I'll just run with my headphones off. And it kind of like calms you down while you're in the middle of your run. So you're still like working out and it's still fucking painful and it feels great, right? But at the same time, you don't have all the noise. It's like take the noise away, and now you're with yourself. And then that initial taking the noise away, like your brain is still running off of all the noise. And then eventually by the time you get done with your workout and your headphones are off for the last like 30 minutes of your workout, it's like, okay, now you're back into your own head and it's finally calm. And then like that's where I analyzed myself, like what did I do this week? And I caught myself. I'm like, dude, I'm just in the distraction zone right now. I find myself in so many distractions this week. Distractions on Instagram, distractions on social media, whatever, distractions on like playing video games, distractions on like conversations that have no value. They have literally no value other than catching up with somebody, which I would argue like sometimes catching up with somebody doesn't have to always be this like in-depth conversation, but that's what I like. I would like to have a conversation with somebody that I either haven't had a conversation with in a long time and catch up with them and be like, dude, what did you do for the last 2 years? I haven't talked to you in 2 years. So what have you been doing? Not be like, okay, I haven't talked to you for 2 years. So let's play video games and let's catch up. And then the moment I like ask about your opinion on something, it's like, bro, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to play video games. And I'm like, all right, like that's cool. That's you, but that's not me. And I want to take that step further. Right, I want to go further in my life. I want to have those conversations with the people that I care about, because maybe there's something that you're going through in your life that if I care about you, I can be like, hey, look, this is something that I've learned along the way. Or, hey, look, maybe you're doing something wrong. And that's me. I'm not here to change necessarily to change the people around me and just constantly always give advice and be a life coach or some shit like that. But at a certain point, I'm like, hey, if you're complaining to me about something that you're going through in life, do you want me to just sit there and be like, oh, okay, cool. Keep making bad decisions. Keep making your bad decisions. I think that's cool. Whatever you're doing that you're upset about, that's cool. Just keep doing it next week, because it's not going to fucking change. And I'm the person that, like, if you're going to tell me about something that's you're complaining about that you want to change, I'm going to be like, well, hey, maybe you should change X, Y, and Z to get to A, B, and C, right? But some people don't like that, because it takes yourself to reflect on what it is that you're not doing. And then it takes accountability. And I think that's like a huge issue that I see is like, how many times have you told yourself, I fucked up, or I'm wrong, or I did something that I shouldn't have done that I could have done, or I wasted all this time. It's my fault. It's nobody else's fault but my fault. This argument that I had is my fault. This unproductivity in the gym that I've had is my fault. The fact that my run time is getting longer instead of shorter is my fault because I'm not running enough. I'm not eating enough. I'm not eating healthy enough. I'm not eating enough. I'm like, whatever it is, right? But you have to self-reflect and take accountability for your actions. And it's almost like we live in a society where people don't want to take accountability for their actions. And that shit pisses me off because if I'm doing something wrong, I want somebody around me that's my friend, that I would consider my friend, to be a good friend and tell me, hey, you're fucking up. That's what I would consider a good friend. A good friend is somebody that says, that's pointing something out that I'm doing wrong and saying, hey, you need to change this, because if you don't change this, you're not going to get the change that you want, because the change that you want requires you to change. If you want your life to change, you have to do something different, right? Simple. But do you take accountability to analyze and be like, hey, I'm not doing what it takes for me to change. So what do I need to do to change, right? So it's the good habits. Find those good habits. And then once you find yourself off the path of the good habit, you have to find that discipline and that will and the desire to get that goal, and go read your goals again of like where you want to go and set yourself back on that path, right? It's not always going to be perfect. You're not going to take 10 steps forward every 10 steps. You're going to take 9 steps forward, 1 step back, 7 steps forward, 3 steps back, whatever it is, right? But it's not going from 9 steps forward, 1 step back, 8 steps forward, 2 steps back, 7 steps forward, 3 steps back, all the way to the point to where now you're just like going back and back and back and back and back. And now you're all the way back to where you started. Your diet's not accurate. You're not disciplined on your diet. You're not going to the gym. You're not having good communication skills. You're arguing with everyone around you because you personally know that it's your fault that you're not changing what it is that you said that you're going to change, and somebody's just calling you out on your change, whether it's like subconsciously they're calling you out and you just took it offensive because you're like, fuck, I am fucking up and I don't want to take accountability for my own fuck up. So let me argue with you because it's not, I don't appreciate you calling me out on my bullshit. And I think that's like something I see a lot in everyone. I see it in myself whenever I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing and my wife tells me like, hey, are you working on what you said you're going to work on? And I'm like, fuck. Like, I just want to play video games. I just want to scroll on my phone. I just want to watch TV. Is that getting me closer to my goal? And whose fault is it? Is it her fault for telling me to get back on my goal, or is it my fault for not staying on my goal, right? And so I have to take accountability. Are you not taking accountability? Are you just arguing with everybody that's telling you, like, hey, this is what you could do to change? And I'll tell you, like, this is the other thing is, like, if you don't want change, that's up to you. Like, if you don't want a better life, I would argue that everybody wants a better life, but not everybody wants to do what it takes to get a better life. But then it's like, so why complain about having this life that you have if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to sacrifice the shit that you think you want to do? Because do you want to eat healthy, or do you just want to look healthy, right? Do you want to have better communication skills? Do you not want to fight with your wife? Do you not want to fight with your girlfriend? Do you want to have a better relationship with your friendships? Like, whatever they are, like however they are. And it's like up to you to change it. And if you continuously like take yourself and keep making steps backwards, and then when somebody calls you out on it, how do you react? And most people, that's where I see is like, okay, do you really want the change that you say you want? And if you don't, then that's fine. But to me, I only want to surround myself with the people that want change. I look at potential, right? When I'm judging the people that I want to be around and hang around, it's off of potential and character, right? Like, do you have the potential to become this person that you say you want to become? Or are you the person that's saying that you want to become this and you're not doing what you want to do or doing what's needed to be done to get to where you want to be? And that's where I argue, like, I don't want to surround myself around the people that say they want something, but they don't ever do anything to get to where they want to go. Because then it's just like, now I find myself in the position to where if we're hanging out or if we're doing something, it's not productive because those people don't want to do what it takes. Those people are like, oh shit, like, okay, this is hard. I don't want to have this conversation. This is not a conversation I want to have. I want to have a surface level conversation. I don't want to talk about where I've been fucking up. It's like, okay, we can also talk about the good things, but you can also break down the good things that you're doing to be like, this is what I did good. This is how I did it good. This is how I'm going to do it next week. So that way I can continue on this good path of wanting to achieve my goals, right? So it's just going back to getting on your good habits. And are you the person that has the discipline in the beginning or the discipline after you've seen results? And it's like, are you doing it just for the results, or are you doing it because you want change in your life? Like, everybody wants a fucking six-pack. And if you say you don't want a six-pack, I think you're lying to me. Genuinely, I think you're lying to me. Women, I could argue six-pack, I don't really, like, I'm not saying women do or don't want a six-pack, but I would argue that, like, every single man, if they had the opportunity to snap their fingers and get a six-pack, they would. So the only thing that's preventing them from getting the six-pack is the work. So is it you want the six-pack and you don't want to do the work? Or is it that you're willing to do the work because you know in the end result you're going to get the six-pack? And I'm the person that's like, I want to do the work because I know what comes at the end. If you're the person that wants the six-pack but doesn't want to do the work to get there and would rather take a pill to get there, well, that's not the people I want to surround myself with, because eventually what's going to happen is you're not going to do what's required of you to get that six-pack. And that is a character flaw for everything that person would do in life. Do they really want this job change? Do they really want to do do they really want to learn financial change? Do they really want to learn philosophy change? Do they really want to change themselves to learn more and educate themselves more and be better for themselves? Things like that, right? And that's what I consider, like, whenever I'm like, okay, do I want to hang out with this person? Do I want to talk to this person? Do I want to be involved with this person, right? And I would argue, if you're the person that doesn't want to do the work, I don't want to hang out with those people. If you are at this point in the conversation where you've already turned it off, if you're at this point in the conversation, then I would argue you're more so the people that I'm looking to talk to, because this is I don't know how long we're in the conversation, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes into the conversation. And most people have already turned this conversation off. They're not listening to it anymore. Or they're like, oh, this is fucking bullshit. I don't want to listen to this anymore. This guy's holding me accountable. And I'm like, okay, good. I don't want to surround myself with people that don't want to be held accountable, right? So don't be afraid of change, right? The afraid of change, actually, I would argue that, like, when it comes to the being afraid of change isn't so much so of like, okay, changing your diet or, you know, changing your goals or changing your outcome in life. Like, I don't really think that's the hard change. It's like people get afraid of. I think the change is like that first step. Right, that's what I'm saying. Going back to that good habit. Mine is the initial step, right? I've been reiterating this, and it's the same thing as, like, don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of, like, damn, this is a lot of change that I have to take, but in reality, it's really not that much. It's just stop going out and eating food, right? Like, or like it's more so like stop eating out at fast food, right? I'm not saying to sit there and count your macros and be so disciplined and like weigh your food. But what I'm saying is, like, if you can't stop eating McDonald's, then that's like that how is that hard? Why would you be afraid of that? And I mean, if you're the person that is afraid of that change where you're like, dude, I just can't. I'm afraid to eat healthier. Look up on ChatGPT some healthy meals that you could make yourself. That's as simple as it. Like, it's so simple to change. Now, the big change is like, okay, what's a big step in a career change? And if you're unhappy with your job, like, what are you doing? What's the change that you're asking of yourself? Like, it's not an immediate, like, okay, quit your job and then find it. It's like, no, stay working at your job. Don't change any of that, but change what you're doing outside of your job. So if you hate your job, when you get off of work, you're like, okay, let me go party, let me go hang out with my friends Monday through Friday. You're drinking alcohol or you're doing something along the lines that's not helping you get to the change that you want. Because you're like, holy shit, I got to memorize this entire book of rules and regulations that I want to get into, that this career field is going to, I'm going to have to learn to get in this career field, right? And that's a lot of change, but all it takes is not going out one time a week and opening the book just one time a week. And then the next week, open it up 2 times a week. And then don't go out 2 times a week and hold that for like 2 weeks. And then after the 3rd week, just slowly take those steps backwards of of those bad habits and start taking those slow steps forward into your good habits. Like, don't be so afraid of this change that you need from yourself, because it's like all you're thinking of is the end goal. Like, what it will take for you to get the entirety of your goal. It's like, how about set this goal that you have that's like, okay, hey, I want to be a helicopter pilot, right? Instead of sitting there and saying, hey, I have to learn every single 10 of these books plus all these regulations that are hundreds of regulations and hundreds of terms. It's a whole different language in aviation. And instead of psyching myself out of saying, holy shit, I got to read all these books, it's like, no, okay, just start with step 1. Just have a conversation about aviation, right? Look up an aviation school. Go to the school and be like, oh, hey, like, I'm very interested in this. What could I do? What's the cheapest route that I could do? Okay, so now go home and that's it. Like, that's the first step, is make tiny, tiny baby steps. And then once you get to that point to where you're like, okay, I have the first portion of this mapped out. So I understand what the school is going to consist of. I understand what the books I got to read. I understand what the knowledge is that I have to have, or like what it is, this check ride that I'm going to have. And instead of studying for the check ride on your day 1, study for day 1 shit, right? And that's everything in life. Just study the day 1 shit. Don't be afraid of change because all you're thinking of is the end result. How about set a goal and then set like 10 smaller goals to get you to that goal. And then each one of those 10 goals that you set to get you to that goal, there's also goals that you could put to get to one goal, then get to the next goal, to get to the next goal. So you break it down smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's not this like giant leap that you think that you're taking. It's take one small step at a time to get to that one step. And then once you get to that first step, you're like, holy shit, I'm here. Now you have momentum, right? And then now just build on that momentum, right? So just don't be afraid of change, right? Like, you got one opportunity in life. And if you are afraid of change, then the opportunity in life is going to continuously reduce. Your opportunities continuously pass you by because you're constantly afraid, or you're constantly not doing what it takes to get you to that goal. But it could be because like that mindset of like, oh fuck, I could have done this. 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 And then you're like, well, it's going to take this and this and this, right? Like, you're just arguing with yourself on how you're not going to become successful, or how you're not going to be able to do what it is that is required of you, because you're only thinking of the end goal of all the big picture items that you need to accomplish, instead of just thinking of that one small item, that all it takes is that one small item, and then that next small item, and that next small item, and that next small item. And next thing you know, you accomplished one big item, right? So it's like, just don't be afraid of change. And I say this because I'm like, I want the people that are watching to achieve what it is that they want to achieve. I got told when I was in high school that I was going to amount to nothing in life by my high school teachers. And I think that's like, you have 2 routes to take from that. You either be like, you know what, you're right. Like, I fucking suck. I'm a failure in life. Or you use it as fuel and be like, yeah, all right, I'm going to fucking show you that you're wrong and that I believe in myself, right? Stupid shit. It's stupid shit, right? But it's the stupid shit that I feel like people are like, it's so stupid, it's so simple, but I'm still not going to take action because it's so simple. And I'm not going to take action until the day that I need to take action. But people don't realize that they needed to take action 5 years ago, not today. If I would have taken action 5 years ago to learning financial decisions, I would not be where I'm at today. I would be 5 years ahead. I would be where I'm going to be at in 5 years now, because now I'm learning different. All right, not to go on a tangent. Fuck. See? Tangents. Anyways, it's like, just don't overcomplicate it. Don't overcomplicate the change that is required of you to get to where you want to go. And I want to help you get to where you want to go. This is why I give this information and I talk like this and I focus on this so much on all my podcasts. It's all about building somebody, right? Like I don't know if you've noticed or not, if you watch my podcasts enough or not, but it's all about building the person that's watching. It's building you. And also, if you're the person that could help give back information, like write it down in the comments. Like this is a channel that I want people to be like, dude, I don't know where to go at in life, right? And I don't have a mentor. Like I never had a mentor in my life. But what I've done is I've looked at people around me that I either appreciate where they're at in life, and I'm like, damn, this is a goal. This is like one aspect of this person I really like, and I want to follow. I want to have what this person has and on this aspect in life, whether that's a great relationship, whether that's financial discipline, whether that's a career move, like whatever it is. But there's been so many people in different avenues in life that I've been like, okay, I like this, so I'm going to take this information. I like this, I'm going to take this information. I like this, I'm going to take this information. But there's also been people in my life that's like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. So it's like, I think in my life, I've more so learned what not to do. But have I learned what to do? Because I've never actually had a mentor that's like sat there next to me and said, hey, don't make this decision. This decision is not going to help you in the long run. So there's times in my life that I've had to learn after like over a year. I'm like, oh, fuck, I made a bad decision. I shouldn't have made this decision. Or even like within a couple weeks, I can analyze, but oh, fuck, I shouldn't have made that decision. That was a bad decision, right? So that's my goal, is like preventing you guys from making a bad decision and helping you make good decisions at the same time. And maybe this is like not the content that you're looking for, but the content that I'm giving is for the people that are looking for it, right? Opportunities that come once in a lifetime. I was reading this book, and it's called The Richest Man in Babylon. I actually just finished that book. And they talk about opportunities that present itself. And in this conversation that they're having, is one of them is one of the questions is like, who's had an opportunity in life that they can look back on and say, if they would have taken this opportunity, they would be in a completely different place, in a place where they would want to be at in life today. And it goes along the lines of, a couple people have had multiple opportunities when they're like these older guys. It's a conversation with old and young people, but most of the older guys, like the two or three guys that are having this, that are telling this side of their story. They're typically older, and they're saying, "Hey, like 20 years ago, I was offered to invest into X, Y, and Z. And at the time, I just wanted to buy the new clothes. I wanted to buy, and at the time, it's like in the fucking 1600s, or I don't know, it's not even, it's like 800 BC. I don't know when it was. Right. Anyways, but it's like hundreds of thousands of, like, not hundreds of thousands, thousands of years ago. Sorry, fuck. Let me get to the point. So it's like thousands of years ago, and they're like wearing robes and shit like that, whatever. And they wanted the nice jewelry. They wanted the nice robes. They wanted the nice, like, rugs, like, all this shit, right? Instead of taking that money that they put into just making themselves, like, their lives, like, their goods in life better, they could have taken that money and invested it into, I think it was, like, some type of farming, that like this new style of farming in this book. And he said if he would have put his money there, he'd be like so wealthy now, blah, blah, blah. And there was, like, sorry, that's a terrible description of what the sequence of events, how it goes. But anyways, there's these older guys that talk about how they didn't take the opportunity. And now they're 40, 50, 60 years old. And they're saying if they would have taken this opportunity, they would be in a completely different place in life. So are you going to be the person that passes up an opportunity because maybe you don't have good habits, maybe because you're afraid of change, maybe because you don't trust the change? Like, it's risk. It's all risk. To get to where you want to go, it's risky. Because this is the other thing, too, is crazy. Is like, everybody wants to be successful. And now everybody has a different definition of success, but generally it's all about wealth. It's like freedom of time and money, right? Like, money now, in my mind, it's not that I want money. I want ability. But I don't want to have to work so much for money that I'm working 60, 70, 80 hours a week to make a lot of money. And then once I make a lot of money, I can't even use the money because then next week comes and I got to work the same amount of hours. And it's like, excuse me. Let me take that back. So instead of thinking that money is the solving of the problems, I think it's the time and then the ability to get to where I want to go. But it's the opportunity of risk that you have to take, right, to get to that point. Because everybody wants to get there, whether you say it or not. It's like deep down, do you want the ability to have freedom? And if you want freedom, everybody wants freedom. Like even in our life today, like, are you really free? Can you quit your job and live life without being stuck 9 to 5, without working and relying off of working for somebody else? And most of us can't. But then you get to the point to where, all right, now people are depending on you. So the role changes, but the ability changes as well, right? So everybody wants success, and I would argue that even if you say you don't, you still want some form of success. Maybe our definitions of success are just different, but everybody wants success, and it takes risk, because the people that get success are the people that are not afraid of the risk. Now, you could be cautious and you can calculate this risk. Take a calculated risk. Don't just invest in your friend that thinks he has an idea of how to start a business, right? Like, you shouldn't go to a brick maker to want to buy jewelry, right? So don't invest in a brick maker that wants to create jewelry. Invest in a jewelry maker that already is making jewelry, or somebody that's like lineage tracks jewelry, like this person, right? You get the fucking idea. Anyways, the point is, it's going to be risky, as well as it's going to be scary. And that's like that afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. I want you to want to be able to analyze that risk. Like, I want you to want to analyze risk. Take that step forward. Take the risky move that you know, like deep down, you're like, fuck, this is risky, but if it works out. I am the person, my mentality is like, if I win, what if I win? It's not the what if you lose. I think we could all talk about what if we lose, right? Losing is easy. It's winning that is hard. And how much do you really want to win? Because I think eventually what happens is, this is my idea of it, as long as you continuously try and you keep trying, eventually people stop trying. People stop trying. People stop trying. People stop trying while you keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. And the more you try, the more you're outworking the people that have stopped trying. And even, right, you have a person right here and you have you, right? This person tried, and they got all the way up here. And now they're this is their form of success. This is where they want to be at, right? And those people can be happy with it. But this is you, right? And you try, and then you fail. And you're like, fuck, let me try again. Okay, good. Try again, and then you fail. You're like, fuck. All right, let me try again. Now you're there, and then you fail. And then try again, and then you fail. And then try again, and then you fail. And next thing you know, after all these tryings and little successes after every other try, or not every single try, but because there are going to be failures. But the fact is you're trying more than the person that's not trying. Right, and eventually you're gonna get the reward from the people, or like you're gonna get the reward because you keep trying. And the people that are not trying, they're not even seeing the reward because either A, they just don't care for it. They don't care for the reward that you want. They have the idea of like, damn, it would be nice, but I don't want to do the work for it. Or you have the people that want the reward, but they're not willing to do the work for it. Right? So it's just continuously try, and do not. I would argue that every decision that you make matters. So don't be afraid of opportunity. Take it. And if you fail, how much did you learn from taking an opportunity that didn't work out, but how much knowledge did you get from that opportunity? Right? So that's my conversation for today. Ended abruptly. However, I think that's good information for today. I just want people around me to know that I want to help them, and I don't think that it's because I think that I'm better than them. If anything, it's I want to help people because I didn't have the help. I didn't have that route of a path created for me, or somebody saying, hey, don't take this turn, take this turn. Because if you take this turn, that bridge is going to collapse. If you take this turn, that bridge is strong, right? And I want to help guide people to the strong bridges, the bridges that you can walk on without collapsing, right? And then having to crawl up this very steep wall, right? Kind of like, the analogy of that. But I just want to help people because I know that I didn't get the help. And it's not like, ooh, fucking poor me, I didn't get the help. It's just like now, at this point, what I've learned, it's all fucking like mental and the ability to work and the desire for what you want. That's it. That's the separation, is how bad do you want it? What's your desire? What are you doing on your time off to get to what it is that you want? And if you're not doing to get what it is that you want, then if you analyze what you haven't done, you'll see why you're not where you want to be at. And then the longer you wait to do what it takes to get you to where you want to go, the longer it's going to take to get to that point, right? Super simple stuff, but it's like, it's really hard because then you have to hold yourself accountable for it. And are you willing to tell yourself that you're wrong? Are you willing to tell yourself that you've been doing things not the right way? Or you've been taking the long route instead of the shorter route, and the shorter route actually seems like it takes a lot more work, when in reality it takes less work. It takes more brain power right now to go read the book, to learn the lessons, to write down all your goals, to track your finances, to track your food, to track how much hours you're putting into work, and then to not go out and do all that shit. Like it's a lot of work, but would you rather do a lot of work now and then get that better result at the end, or do a lot of work now, but it's like unprogressive and like it doesn't get you closer to your goals? Because there's always a lot of work that you can do, but is it getting you closer to your goals? And I think that's like the change in my mindset, and something that I've learned now is like, if you want to go somewhere, you have to have a very clear path on how to get there. Now, just because you write it down on the book of like, this is how I'm going to get there, doesn't necessarily mean how you're going to get there, because you might learn something along the way that says, oh, hey, I can skip these 3 steps and then I'm here. Or, hey, I didn't even think about this path. Let me go this way, right? And it's just, if you have the desire to get there, you're going to find the goals and the opportunities and all these things in life to get you to this place, as long as you're holding yourself accountable and you're continuously progressing to where you want to go. And I want to help you get there. So thanks for watching. That's the end of the podcast. Tune in sometime next week. Peace.